So episode 2 continues what I liked about the first episode and builds upon it and expands upon the whole world of the show. We start with seeing Yumi survive the hit on her and escaping, but as she faints in and out of consciousness, she has flashbacks to when she, Kiryu, Nishiki, and Miho were kids at Sunflower Orphanage, and already at a young age they were getting into trouble. I really like seeing the bond develop between them and break down later on. I find it particularly thrilling how it's told in a non-linear fashion, cut in between different years and different ages. It really does highlight the dramatic contrast between the people that they once were and the people they are now. We also see Kiryu getting his iconic gray and red suit, and later having a discussion with Date about the power struggle in Kamurocho. And here we get to see a Kiryu that's closer to the games, especially who he was in Kiwami. And I particularly like Ryoma Takeuchi's performance here, and showing a constant yet controlled anger in Kiryu. But one of my favorite parts of this entire episode was the pacing. I love seeing a story go back and forth between characters as well as the different time periods. This episode in particular also introduces plenty of new characters as well as reference iconic locations from the games, which I was actually pretty surprised by. We get our first scene with Majima and Saejima and the Maharaja Club. I loved how quick it was, but also kind of funny in how they're just casually leaving the bathroom. But Kiryu of course takes notice of them and is suspicious of who they are. It was a nice setup for their interaction later at the Dojima family office, where Majima and Kiryu challenge each other and try to assert power over one another, only for it to end in a quick clash. I also love seeing Dojima pitch the idea of the Millennium Tower at the Serenade Club, as insane as ridiculous as that damn thing looks. I actually have a really dumb theory on why Millennium Tower looks like that. It's for the inevitable Yakuza 4 live action, and the final episode where they gotta do the finale, and all 4 protagonists gotta fight their own final bosses, and each final boss has their own section of the Millennium Tower. And it's gonna be so exciting. 4/5 starts playing, and it's gonna be absolute cinema. Another fun nod to Yakuza 0 was the appearance of Shibusawa, who looks completely different and behaves completely differently to the villain he was in the games. It's actually pretty funny seeing him actual casual around Kiryu and Nishiki, especially with his laid-back quirks, and how he needed a beer to calm himself down when opening the safe. The cinematography also really shines in this episode, and I feel that it does a damn good job showing the cool set designs and really setting the mood and atmosphere. I particularly like the contrast between the rundown bathhouse that Kiryu and everyone lives in compared to the luxurious glamour of Serena. I thought it worked as the perfect metaphor for Kamurocho and just the show as a whole. I also liked how slow the camera was at times. It creates this feeling of intimacy in how we're looking into the private affairs of these characters. Seeing things like Yumi's reaction to Miho at the club, the talk between Kazuma and Miho, and even the cut outside the window during Majima and Kiryu's fight made things feel more tense and dramatic, and allows us to sit with it longer and really take in the emotion of the scene. Another big reveal was Haruka, who many people, including myself, didn't think was going to be in the show. Her mother is actually Aiko Sawamura, who is a new character for the show and also the older sister of Yumi. And in typical Yakuza fashion, Haruka is already traumatized at a young age by seeing the manga cafe workers shot in front of her. This whole sequence of the cafe being raided focused on her point of view, which I really liked, especially because of the reveal at the end of how Kiryu was the one saving her. The episode also ends in a cliffhanger with the manga cafe exploding as Aiko watches outside in fear. So far I'm actually really liking the series, and this episode cleared up any doubts I had from episode 1. For this episode in particular, I was actually super invested the whole time, and was actually surprised when it's over, because it didn't really feel like its 45-minute runtime. This episode definitely felt closer to the games while maintaining its own unique story and take, which I hope is consistent for the next episode and the rest of the series.